Let's go to Renita Young in the Chicago TD Ameritrade newsroom, our senior markets correspondent, with some more details on that story from the administration and the chips. Okay, Renita, I guess it was only a matter of time before all the AI excitement ran into a little bit of a regulatory hurdle. After all, chips have been, well, kind of the bartering chip between the U.S. and China.
I mean, the chips are literally down this morning on this news, Oliver,
yes,
and no pun intended, but really pun intended. But NVDA is lower, and so are its peers in the space, Micron, AMD, Intel, all lower this morning on that news that the Wall Street Journal reported about the Biden administration considering more restrictions on the exports of AI chips to China. Now, those sources from the Wall Street Journal say that the White House is becoming more concerned about the power of this technology in the hands of U.S. rivals. And so there are a couple of sides to this story. It could further hurt China's ability to build up its AI capabilities, since it's already been restricted from some of the most advanced AI chips that are made by NVIDIA and AMD. And not too long ago, we learned the impact that it could have on NVIDIA. That's the other side of the business. NVIDIA last year said that it would be a $400 million impact on its sales, but it hasn't yet updated that China data center exposure for this year yet. That's what it was talking about last year. But to do that, to battle that, NVIDIA created a special version of its AI chips so that it would be able to sell to the Chinese market. It was below the thresholds that the U.S. Department of Commerce outlined, and it replaced the powerful one, the A100. This one was the A800, but these new restrictions that the Wall Street Journal is reporting on could actually rule out the sale of the A800 chips without a license, and that is ringing a concern. And so right now, a lot of the chip makers, we haven't yet heard from them specifically, but we know that they've been pushing back against the White House's restrictions, or at least asking for them to ease them, because they're saying that it in some way will impact their business. Now, there's also news that the company will have to, or the U.S. will limit cloud services to China as well. So that's a whole other part of this story that we've got to dig into as it develops.
It's a pretty big deal, frankly, when we now have such really perfect expectations embedded into a couple of these companies like NVIDIA. And at least to some degree, some of this might be navigable from an analytical standpoint for them to figure out what would get hit, because this has been going on for the better part of a year, ongoing threats to semiconductor trade. So we'll watch to see if we get a response from the company, but the logic is certainly not great here. But hey, if AI is going to, advance their bottom line as much as they have said it will, maybe the net here is still enormous enough to justify the price. Time will tell.
Maybe.
Thanks, Renita.
And actually, one more thing, Oliver. So analysts have been reacting to this morning. Citi kept its buy rating on NVIDIA with the $420 price target. They estimated that China data center sales for NVIDIA will be in the range of 5 to 10% of its 30 billion data center sales this year. But they believe that the demand for AI is going to exceed the supply. So NVIDIA can really move its chips around to be able to make what it needs to be able to survive and make a profit, right? But Evercore ISI was even less moved by this, saying that it's way too early to have a definitive view on the impact one way or the other. And it remains a top pick for Evercore, reiterated an outperform rating and a $550 price target. So we don't see analysts too moved by this today, at least right now.
Quick to defend. Yeah, analysts stepping in front fast in response to this to defend the bull case. A great report. Thank you, Renita. Much appreciated.